Welcome to Sales Momentum, the podcast designed to fuel your growth and accelerate your success in sales. I'm Howard Wolpoff, your host and guide through the ever-evolving world of sales. Selling isn't just about closing deals. It's about strategy, relationships, and continuous improvement. In each episode, we will bring you expert insights, proven techniques, and real-world experiences from top sales professionals. Whether you're a seasoned closer or just getting started, this podcast will help you sharpen your skills, build momentum, and hit your targets with confidence. Let's dive in and take your sales game to the next level. Welcome back to Sales Momentum. I'm Howard Wolpoff, your host. Again, today we're talking about sales and the people who really are thriving within the industry and for their companies. And today it's going to be a very exciting conversation about just working with companies to create the right vision, the right image, and then implement it, because I have Chris Isley. He's the Vice President of Sales for the Tameka Group in Corona, California. And they do these incredible build outs of storefronts from concept to implementation in all different types of industries, in sports, in the cannabis industry. They started their business within real estate, but it's an interesting journey that they've been on and a really great opportunities that Chris has on a regular basis. So Chris, welcome to the conversation.
Thanks, Howard. I appreciate it. Good to be here.
Well, I'm glad you're here because you really do have a very exciting company that you work for, and the things that you're doing with them are really helpful to them and to really commerce within those industries. So why don't you tell us a little bit about the Tameka Group and what you guys do on a regular basis?
Sure. So Tameka Group started in 1991. At that point, we were primarily working in the new home residential market, doing directional signage, flags, sign twirlers, all that kind of stuff that we were providing for them. We had an opportunity with a local city, kind of hence our name. We're not too far from a city called Temecula. At that time, back in the 90s, the housing market was booming, and a lot of the developers were using like paper signs for directionals to their new developments. The city didn't like it. It looked horrible because they were all over the place. So they were creating a city kiosk program, which primarily is a big, large sign with the city emblem on top with directionals to new home developments. And we were blessed with that opportunity, and that kind of kicked off Tameka. And from there, we continued in the residential market, and we started building out sales offices for the new home developers. And then that we got blessed with an opportunity to become involved in retail stores. If people remember the old company, LA Cellular, which is now, obviously I think AT&T bought them, but we started building LA Cellular stores, and then we just started getting connected with other people that were doing mall stores. And so we probably have done 7,000 retail stores in every mall in America with brands like Hot Topic, Tor, Advance, Quicksilver, all the jewelry companies. So that's kind of how we got kicked off, and then just looked at different opportunities in different markets.
Well, it really does make a difference to have the right build out within the store to really bring people in, to have them really feel that sales experience. And it's great that the company found their niche and were able to develop so much business with so many different companies in the timeline that you shared.
That's right. It is important. If you own a store, you've got different ways of looking at how you can develop your business. And we work with every single one of them, how they present the products, the customer flow through the store. I think you had mentioned cannabis, what their fulfillment system looks like. Obviously, that's a highly regulated industry, and so you have to meet certain requirements to stay in compliance. So, with our history, we've been able to kind of get all that information, and we're able to provide that to our customers. So when we do a build out for their store, they know that they're in compliance, and they get a beautiful looking store that meets their requirements.
So you have the role with them as Vice President of Sales. What is it that you are focusing on for the company and your relationship that you're developing with these different types of prospects and then clients?
So currently looking more at it from a business development standpoint, obviously, like we mentioned cannabis before, we got big into that several years ago. But since it is kind of a volatile marketplace, we've been looking at other opportunities. We've done museums in the past, so we're focusing on museums. We do a lot of sports stadium work, doing retail stores in some of the major league sports stadiums. We're looking at going into other medical offices. We're looking at back to standard retail again. So we're diving into some different markets. Some of them we've been involved in before, but obviously, business has changed in terms of the retail scope out there. Since the internet came along, a lot more people have purchased through Amazon or any of those other types of online stores. So it kind of depleted the opportunities for regular retail stores, but we're starting to see a rebirth in that. So we're kind of excited and hopefully get some of those opportunities.
Yeah, it's an evolving economical situation with these types of stores. Amazon's the online business really has taken people away from the malls. I know some of the malls near me have gotten quieter and quieter, one shutting down altogether. But a lot of the storefronts really were, I'm sure, developed in malls around the country. And seeing these different opportunities that you have with sports, with museums, it really does give you a different angle of not just trying to um, provide a shopping atmosphere, but here you have stories to tell within the sports teams' legacies and the historical aspects of the museums to really be a part of the design of these build outs that you're creating.
I think that's true. I think it's nice to be able to bring the history and kind of help develop that. We have a story. I don't know if people are familiar with who George Jones is, famous country singer, multi-Grammy winner. Well, we did their museum in Nashville, and to hear the stories, I was not there, but our ownership met with the wife of George Jones, and they sat down and I don't know if everybody understands about his volatility in terms of being an alcoholic and a drug user and all that. But she came walking out with a box of broken Grammys. And, they were like, what happened here? Well, if you knew George, he got drunk and threw the Grammys up against the wall. She goes, but I kept them all. And they're like, does this tell a story? And it was like, they were like, yes, we want to put that in your museum. And because that does tell a story, why did he break them? Kind of gives his personal history. And the same thing holds true. They have his little John Deere riding lawnmower in there. And if everybody have ever heard that, he was drinking one night and they took his keys away from him and he wanted to go get some more alcohol. So he hopped on his John Deere riding lawnmower and took off towards town to hit the liquor store up. So those are the kinds of things that you get that level of excitement from, and just talking to people that, like I said, putting the museums together. But even like you said, the history with the sports teams, if you can tie that in, I think that's, incredible, because at the end of the day, you're trying to tell a story to be able to help sell the products that you have. So, and we take their vision and we try to create it into a reality. So that's one of our taglines.
it it really wraps into the actual sales aspect, not just of the retail part, but with you and working with these individuals who work for companies to talk about these types of build outs and concepts, because you have a repertoire of stories that you can tell of these great experiences of what the before was, the concepts to develop it with with broken Grammys and lawnmowers and history of teams, but it's the story that helps make the sale, or really more importantly, helps develop the relationship that down the line creates a sale. So, how much do you utilize stories when you are having these conversations with people?
Oh, we utilize them quite a bit, to have the history behind us of the things that we've been involved in, and then be able, and again, going back to cannabis, we've done close to 800 dispensaries now in 24 different states. And, each customer has kind of a different vision of how they want to operate their store. So we try to incorporate what their vision is in terms of how they want to operate the store, along with what we see as kind of the best direction for them in terms of, efficiencies and creating that experience. We have some people that, they want to have that incredible looking store. They want people to come in and kind of have the wow factor. And that's nice. And if that's the direction that they want to go, I have no problem with that. And then you have other stores that, their goal is they want to sell product and they just want to get people in and get them out. And so we have to kind of try to figure out what is the best direction for each one of those types of stores. And since we've worked on so many of them, we can kind of help our customers kind of manage their way through to the direction that they actually want to go. We term it turn and burn for some of them, where they just want to get in, sell the products, and get out. And then we have the other ones which are a little bit more experience oriented. So, you just kind of have to understand what the direction is the customer wants to go, and, kind of help them kind of massage that into a point that both, they're happy with it and it makes sense for us to be able to manufacture it. Because we've had people come to us with some pretty unreal visions of what they want to accomplish. So it's always interesting.
Moats and waterfalls and things like that.
Yeah, lots of stuff, hanging vines, gorillas in the entryway, 10-foot tall animals, that kind of stuff. So yeah, it's always interesting. But it's fun because, it doesn't get boring because you get to talk to all these different people. Everybody comes from, different parts of life, so they have different visions, and, it's always refreshing just to kind of hear people talk about what they're trying to accomplish. So that's what I find exciting.
Yeah, it definitely makes for lots of imagery that goes through the mind of the before and the grand concepts to what you end up being. But having that vision in the conversation, having the vision in sales, you've had lots of different types of sales experiences through your career, and a lot where you've worked with individuals as part of a team, running the team, managing the team, where it's their visions are somewhat similar because of the product that you are selling, but different because everyone has their different levels of training of how they've absorbed how to sell. So, what kind of experience have you had with working with different individuals to help develop them into being top-notch salespeople?
Well, I've had experience in the past where I had a team working for me, and I had seasoned sales guys that were 100% commission, making six figures or more, and they understood the customer, they understood giving that service level, and then on that same team, I had guys that were making half of what my more successful sales guys were, but they became more route salesmen. They became where they just, they would either take deliveries to the customer. Can I help you with anything? Do you need anything? And then when they were told no, they walked out the door, which, I started working with them and kind of ID'd what their processes were. And, I'm like, okay, you're missing out on a big deal here. And at that point they had a parts room, let's say, and I go, you need to get past that door and get into that room to identify the products that they're utilizing on an everyday basis. And then if you're not selling those products to the customer, you need to figure out why. And so I had them kind of do that, start developing lists for each one of their accounts that they were calling on, and then slowly but surely started chipping away. And, they became the majority supplier in that parts room. And they went from making like a $50,000 a year up and again to the high six-figure range, just by kind of changing the dynamic of what they were looking at. Sometimes people take the easy way. You kind of got to think outside the box, and you never give up. So, and I think I had mentioned, some of my sales techniques were, I don't give up, and I do go and if I think that it's a great opportunity. I followed one president of a company around for months when he was doing talks at these conferences and stuff. And I would always get back up there and introduce myself. And one time, finally, I just hopped up on stage after he got done doing his speaking engagement. and said, "Hey, I want an opportunity with your company." And, gosh, I was blessed with it. The next day his construction manager called us, and wham bam, now I've built probably 70 locations for them. So you know what? You never know where it's going to come from, and you don't know whether you're going to have a one corn stalk grow out of the ground or you're going to have a full field. So, you just don't ever just put blinders on and think that the opportunity is only going to be a singular item. Go after the whole thing, and develop the relationship.
Yeah, it's finding that sweet spot between positive persistence and stalking. So you're consistent in trying to reach someone on a respectful level, but letting them know in subtle or unsubtle ways that you're not going anywhere until there's a real conversation, so that you can be of help to them.
There you go. We just termed a new term there. We're going to call it positive stalking. So that's what I do. I'm a positive stalker at this point.
And sometimes you have to do that because again, there's all the studies that it takes 5 impressions, 10 impressions, 20 impressions before someone's going to make a decision to buy or to even respond back to the phone call. And it's if you've made one or two calls and given up, then you're not going to know whether you actually could have sold them something or not, or really been a part of their future moving forward.
That's correct. And we utilize our CRM to be able to do the hunting side of it. So, you'll tag in the information as to who you talk to, and then task yourself. Originally, I would start off with maybe a 2 or 3 week follow-up. I'm not one, I don't know about you, I did purchasing in my earlier life. And I hated when I had people that pounded on me every other day or once a week calling me for stuff. So I was like, you know what? I will follow up every 2 or 3 weeks. Just, hey, just wanted to check in, see what's going on. If you move forward on your project. And then as that starts to stretch out, then I'd follow up maybe once a month or once a quarter or what it would be, but never kind of actually give up on the project as a whole. So, I think that's important, because if you don't, like you just said, I mean, I could just give them one call, never follow up, and next thing I know, I find out they just built 15 stores. Well, why wasn't I involved in that? Because I gave up too soon.
And yeah, it's so important and so valuable, and making alerts for yourself. So whether it's in the CRM or in your calendar, so that you know that you need to try again with someone. But also, there's so many different tools out there. If you dig deeper into LinkedIn, and I assume most people listening and watching are on LinkedIn, they're giving you opportunities to know when someone changed their job, when they hit an anniversary of their job, when their birthday is, and reaching out to them within the means of LinkedIn is not something out of the blue. It's not a cold call with that's random. It's somewhat of a warm call because they know that information has been promoted out there, and they it's amazing how many people appreciate the acknowledgement of it and can start a conversation.
Absolutely agree with you. I want to say it's been probably 5 years ago that I paid for the premium service on LinkedIn. And during COVID, that was a big thing because you couldn't really go out and make those face-to-face calls, and a lot of the events that were happening where you would meet people at network events all kind of got shuttered for that short term. And having that opportunity on LinkedIn to actually search out, potential opportunities, either by company name or by person or by, whatever their title is, it was extremely helpful. And, I was able to generate quite a bit of business just utilizing LinkedIn. And then understanding, again, I'm probably a little bit older than most, but understanding the social media aspect of how do you go about, promoting your company through either a LinkedIn service or a Instagram or a Facebook or any of these. And to be honest with you, when we first started doing this, gosh, it's probably been a good 5, 6 years. We weren't tuned into all that stuff. So it's been a slow process, and always trying to, again, identify a person who's going to manage that for you, because it is a different way of going out and presenting yourself to the public. So to have somebody who understands how to put that all together is extremely important. And we utilized it quite a bit, and it's helped us not just in generating new business, but developing new opportunities with companies that we've started networking with. So that's one of the best ways for us that we've been able to do it without spending tons of money. I mean, you don't have to go put ads in magazines anymore. You don't have to run commercials on TV. You don't have to go to all these different associations. If you can start presenting yourself out on social media, I love it. It's worked out really well for us.
Yeah, it can be, if done correctly, it really can be a great opportunity. And especially because you have so many different visuals, an Instagram really just speaks to showing off the different types of storefronts you have. And there are they're great people who do this work for companies and really get a wonderful message out to it, sometimes to a different audience, and that brings in revenue.
Absolutely agree with you. And like you said, for us in designing and developing stores, we have two ways to present it because we start off with developing a render. So we have the drawing, it's beautiful, it looks great. So we can show what the render look like. And then we have the finished store afterwards. So when we present both of those together, it shows the level of work that we do. That if we're going to sit here and show you a render of a store and you agree that this is the way you want your store, then at the end of the day to come back and show you, here's what the finished product looked like, and you're like, oh my gosh, you can hardly tell the difference. That I get excited over that. Because it's like I want them to understand that what we show them is what they're going to get. And when other people are out there, looking at it, they see, just like you said, we present well. We have pictures of stores so you can see visually, this is what things look like. One of the things we've done as well, we created what we call our brag book. And basically, it's a compilation of all the different projects that we've worked on. So we give that out to people digitally, and they're able to flip through and see all the different projects that we've been involved in. They can point to things that they like, things that they don't like, and that kind of helps us get a direction when we're moving forward to help design their location. So
It really is fantastic with what the company's been able to accomplish and do for so many different types of businesses and industries, and even what you've been able to do, creating these relationships, helping them develop the vision that they had in their minds, but really now generating strong revenues and great experiences in the process. So, Chris, I really appreciate you joining us today to really share again, in sales. It's great stories, great moments, great experiences, and this part of your career.
I appreciate it, Howard. Thank you.
And thank you all for joining us as well. I can't say strongly enough that telling a story as part of the sales process is so important. People want to learn about you through others' experiences because they want to visualize them having the same kind of successes that you've been able to help create for others, finding that right story, finding the opportunity that really helps engage someone and develops not just the conversation, but the relationship is so valuable as you move forward within a sales and business process. So dig deep, look back, find the right ones, and make them your own. But go out, have a great rest of today, and we will see you next time. That's a wrap for this episode of Sales Momentum. I hope you picked up valuable insights to fuel your sales success. If you're ready to take your sales game even further, visit howardwolpoffswc.com for coaching, resources, and more strategies to help you close more deals and build lasting momentum. Thanks for listening. Don't forget to subscribe, share, and keep pushing forward. Until next time, keep selling with confidence.